All right, what's up, everybody? Good afternoon. It is time for Master Motivation. My name is Jason Flame, and my guest today is Mr. Daniel Groff. What's up, Daniel?
Not much. How are you doing today?
I am good. It's Monday and I'm excited. Always love doing these interviews. Thank you to everybody that has tuned in so far. You get a chance to watch this later on our YouTube channel as well. But I just want to remind everybody why I did these videos or why I chose to do these videos. As I was looking back at 2020 and looking forward to 2021, I really didn't know what I wanted to accomplish as far as a new goal. Every year I like to set, kind of a big goal. And one of the things that kept going around in my mind is I wanted to recognize some of the people that have really motivated me, inspired me, kind of been there for me along the way. So, Daniel, you definitely belong on this list, and I'm so excited to tell everybody all about you.
Awesome.
So we got a couple of viewers so far. We got Dane Evans saying hello, and Mr. Halama out there, and Serge, what's up? Bonjour. All right, well let's get right into it, Daniel. First thing I like to tell everybody is how we met, right? And so most of you that know us probably know that we're very involved in the community. We work on a lot of different projects together that we'll talk about. But I first met Daniel when he brought his son to me over 15 years ago. Tanner was a martial arts student, ended up earning his second degree black belt. And I'll be honest, at the time I was a little bit intimidated by Daniel because I thought you were so successful and so kind of like, up there that we never really connected early on. I mean, you brought your kid to me, and then it was years later that we've become really good friends and had a lot of, great times together, which again, I'm sure we'll talk about. But that's my first initial memory is, you bringing Tanner into the karate school.
And it's funny because Jill and I, you and I and Jackie all talked about that. We knew each other for so long, and neither one of us really connected. And I felt the same way. I was like, wow, he's got this great studio, and he's always so busy, and it became later in life that we became friends, which is great. I wish we would have been friends like we are now 15 years ago.
Right, right. Yeah, and I was going to say, a lot of people think that I'm a busy guy. I don't know if there's anybody busier than you.
It gets kind of busy sometimes, and it's great to have great people around me that help me do what I do, and great friends that help us get everything done that we do.
Yeah. Well, your wife is watching. Hello,
Uh,
Jill. How are you? She's going to drop some little tidbits in there
oh,
for
she
us.
will.
I'm sure she'll add some stuff. So, hey, let's get started just so everybody could get to know you a little bit better. I always like to talk about everybody's childhood because, obviously our childhood has a dramatic impact of how we grow up to be an adult and what we do in our careers for good or for bad. But let's talk about, your childhood growing up.
So my childhood is a very storied past. We'll leave it at that on that one. But my mom had me at a very young age. My mom got married at 18, had me right away. By the time she was 19, she was divorced, and she was a single mom. And then she remarried, and I was raised by my dad. That's who I consider my dad. He's the one that he ended up adopting me by the time I was in third grade. But we talk about past. Um, One thing I realized when I started looking at my notes for figuring out what I was going to talk about is I went to 5 elementary schools between kindergarten and fourth grade. I was the new kid every year, and we moved a lot because of finances. And I mean, my dad worked hard, my mom worked hard, but my dad was he had been in the Marines, and he was a truck driver, and we didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up, so we moved a lot. And when we had moved, each time, of course, I changed schools. My parents bought their first house when I was in fourth grade on my dad's VA, and we lived at that place in Burbank until I was a 10th grader, and then we ended up moving to Simi Valley. But I had some dyslexia when I was a kid, and then moving each year made it hard for me as well. And I wasn't a great student. I was a student good enough to get through it. So once I settled into a routine, it really helped out. Talk about getting bullied. Mostly the bullying comes to the new kids. Since I was a new kid, it seemed like every year I did always have a little bit of bullying going on, but I perceived through it and continued to grow from what I learned. my mom had a lot of faith in me, and my dad, they always told me I could do anything I wanted, and they always put motivation into me. So I always wanted to strive and do better.
And so you talked about bullying, being the new kid in school and getting bullied. What were some of the things that I mean, because sometimes those things stick with you as you grow up into high school, even beyond high school, bullying especially. What are some of the things that you remember that really kind of stick out that maybe cause a little bit of challenge inside of you in your daily life?
Well, so one of the things, because we didn't have a lot of money, so um, I didn't do team sports. I didn't do anything in that characteristic. So I was kind of on the outside looking in pretty much most of the time until I got into middle school and I could start doing some things on my own. But because of that, I always wanted to be successful. I would always, and if you've seen my license plate on my car, it's took risk. I've taken so many risks in my business life and my personal life to get to where I'm at. People don't realize that. A lot of people will come to me and say, "Man, you're so lucky that your family got you set up or took care of you and got you to where you are." And I kind of just chuckle and laugh that that's not the way it happened. Everything I have, my wife and I built. We did it together. We're a team, and I've taken some pretty crazy ideas to her, and she's always backed me. And not all of them have worked, But if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
Well, and if anybody saw the post, one of my favorite pictures of you is that shirt that says, "I did it because I said I would,"
Yeah,
and I know that that's something about you that really defines you. If you say you're going to do something, you always follow through with that. Back to being a child, being bullied, and talking about not having a lot of money is what kind of gave you the drive to be more successful, because I consider you to be one of the most successful people that I know in business and all the different things that you do. Um, was that a fear? Was it kind of based on fear that you just didn't want to go back to that?
absolutely. The fear was I would not be able to provide for my family and my kids, and I wanted my kids and my wife and my life to be better than my parents, which is what everybody wants. We always want to be better, and we want to make sure that we're doing what we can do to be better. Um, we had our struggles. I'm not going to say we didn't. I mean, we put it all on the line a number of times, and a few times it didn't work, and we sucked it up and we went at it again. We talked about that shirt that I was wearing. That comes from a good friend of mine, Mike Strom. So he's an insurance agent, a friend of mine. We do a lot of talking together, and that's his motto. That because I said I would, and I love that motto. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
Well, and I remember talking about doing a Spartan race, and
Yeah.
that came back around, and we ended up doing that. So we kind of left off, middle school to high school. Grew up in Burbank.
Yep.
Didn't really play team sports or activities. What were some of your hobbies in high school and after graduating high school?
So we'll go even a little bit further back. Because of the financial situation my parents were in and my grandparents, I worked a lot. I mean, I started working with my grandfather and my dad on the weekends. Everybody talks about side hustle now. Side hustle was so we could live and put stuff on the table, and they would do yard work, landscaping, tree maintenance. My grandfather worked for the city of Burbank as a tree trimmer, and so from the time I was 12, I was either splitting wood or cutting down trees or doing something else to make some money, doing yards. I continue to work. I started working, and I laugh at it now. A clothing store in Burbank hired me at 13 and a half as a salesperson with a permit from the school, so I could work, making $3 an hour. I think it was like 3.35 an hour. And I worked after school and on the weekends there, and then during the summer and spring break. I've always been doing something, and I enjoy working. And that goes back to mentors. The work ethic that my dad and my grandfather put into me was hard work will always pay off. You can always make it if you work hard. The harder you work, the luckier you get. And I joke about that. That's another one sayings we talk about is the harder I work, the luckier I get. And I feel that is true with anything.
Yeah, what's the saying? Luck is when opportunity meets
Reality.
something. I know, but we've talked about it a lot, and people always wish me good luck whenever I take a test or something. I never really believed in luck because, like you, I've always felt the need to work hard. If I just thought that if I worked hard, I would be able to accomplish anything. And my dad was a builder, and I can't ever remember a time that he wasn't working. So we both have that in common, that we just know that that's what it takes, and doing whatever it takes to make it happen. Um,
So
you
then
Go ahead.
on the hobbies, then I got into my teenage years and I got into cars and I got into working on cars. My uncle worked on cars and he taught me, and my dad taught me. And then I got into flipping cars. In fact, I joke about it with somebody there. I said, I probably went through high school years 20 cars. I would buy them, fix them, sell them, buy them, fix them, sell them. And it was always moving on to the next car or fixing friends' cars to make some money. I love cars. If anybody knows me, they know I have cars. That's one of my hobbies to this day is nice cars.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and there it is, Dane. Thank you for that. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity, and preparation is that hard work, right?
Yep.
Hey, so you were into cars. I mean, talk about some of your cars right now. I mean, you got some pretty cool cars.
So my cars currently are my past cars. So cars currently, I have my '64 Chevy truck, which was a gift from my wife for our anniversary a number of years back. That was my first vehicle I ever bought, was a '64 Chevy truck back when I was a kid. It didn't look like this one, but I always wanted a really nice truck, and I've always watched them, and so now I have one. I do have my Volkswagen thing that was my son Tanner's idea. He found it in a barn through a coach that he had, and we ended up buying it and restoring that one. And then I have a Corvette that was a gift to myself. I always wanted one, and I got it a number of years back for basically our business doing what we needed to do. We got to a point where we were a debt-free company, and we decided that that's something we wanted, and we moved on.
Awesome, awesome. Talk about some of the cars that you have had in the past that you were
In the
proud of.
past that I'm proud of, I had 70 Nova. I had my 66 truck back in the day, and 64 truck. Um, my 78 Camaro, which probably was my favorite car, that to this day, if I could find it, I'd buy it back. That it would have been my dad's car. He bought it when I was a kid, and I ended up buying it from him when I was getting ready to go off to school. And I restored it, and then I ended up having to sell it a number of years back for business reasons and financial reasons. But if I could find it again, I'd buy it just to have it, because it has a lot of great memories from the high school days.
I know if Mr. Cox is watching, or if he watches later, he loves the old school trucks and cars. So he's commented many times on your truck, and you brought your truck out to a bunch of different events. It's actually you've won some awards with the truck as well, right?
I have. It's been best in show at a couple of shows, and it's a great truck. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, real quick, Kevin Kowalczyk. He says, good skill, hard work, and discipline. No such thing as luck. He's been a guest on the show, and you'll get to meet him as he comes out this weekend for some seminars. So thanks for tuning in, Kev. Good to see you. Let's get back to high school.
So high
Burbank,
school,
growing
yep.
up.
I moved from Burbank. My parents decided it was time to move. They moved me to Simi Valley my junior year. I was not very happy with them on that one, because I had been in the house we were in from fourth grade to my sophomore year. I swore the day I graduated high school I was going to move back to Burbank, and because that's where I wanted to be. I laugh now because the only one left out here is my wife and I and our kids. Everybody has left and moved back to different places. Uh, I went to Royal High School my junior and senior year. I didn't really do much at school except for work. I went to school just to get my classes done, did auto shop, and then I worked at a bunch of different businesses, some machine shops and auto shops through high school. And one of my basically mentors was my auto shop teacher, because I went to him and said, "Hey, I can go to college, but I can't afford it. What do I do?" And I talked to him a lot because I spent a lot of time at auto shop, and he's like, my recommendation is too many kids go to college and don't know what they're going to do and waste too much money and time. He said you should go to mechanic school. Then you can get a job at a mechanic shop, make some money till you really figure out what you want to do. And that's what I did. Graduated Friday, packed my car Saturday, left for Phoenix, Arizona on Sunday with a map, never going to the school, checking it out. Signed up with the guy who came around school and recruited us, and took classes there, graduated, and then came back to our area, worked for the Simi Valley Honda dealership, so I could figure out what I wanted to do. And then over the time, I made some other changes, and I'm at where I'm at now.
Yeah, don't you wish there were more shop classes in schools now? I mean, it's a shame. One of my favorite classes was wood shop, just because wood shop carpentry, that was kind of my background, and like you, my wood shop teacher was one of my mentors. Like, if
Yeah,
it wasn't for him, I'm telling you, I would have never graduated high school, because I was like, I'm done with this. I want to get out. So you didn't really go to college. You went to a trade school and you got into being a mechanic, essentially, correct?
correct. Yeah, I went to Phoenix Institute of Technology, graduated. My mom, in fact, my mom to this day laughs because I think my senior year of high school, I probably missed 65, 70 days of school because I was always doing something else. But I graduated. And then when she came out for the ceremony for me graduate from Phoenix Institute of Technology, I had perfect attendance and straight A's. And she's like, well, you found what you like. And it was fun. I learned a lot. I came back and I was able to get a job like within a couple of days of me returning. In fact, I think I was hired before I even came back by the dealership in Simi Valley, and I stayed there. Um, and while I was there, I decided I want to be a firefighter. So while I was trying to become a firefighter, I worked at the dealership, took some college classes at Moorpark College and Oxnard College, met a lot of people, um, became a reserve up at Kings County. And during that period, right as I was getting ready to get hired by a couple counties, I was making the final list. I got in a car accident and my life changed. I had to have knee surgery, I had to start all over. So I was reading a real estate book. And while I was reading the real estate book, I'm like, sales, man, I know sales. I've been doing sales my whole life. And so I went to work for Alex Scandell. I don't know if anybody knows him. If you're out there, you might know him. One of the top agents in Simi Valley. He owned a small office with his sister and his dad. He was probably one of my other mentors, and took me in, guided me, and he taught me debt motivation, which is not always the best thing, but if you figured if you had debt, you were being motivated. So I bought a car. I was in debt, and then I kept working hard, and then I moved up and went on to work at Troop Real Estate with Brian Troop, another great friend and mentor of mine, and I worked with him until I left real estate. He believed in me. He did a lot for my wife and I. Um, to this day, he's one of my, I call him my business fathers. Whenever I'm going to do something in business or finance, I make a phone call and say, hey, what do you think? And he'll talk me through it and tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly on it.
Yeah. Hey, Dane wanted to share this with you. I don't know if you can see this on your screen, but he says, if I could only go back in
Yeah,
time and not sell my '69 Hearst Olds. Perfect.
exactly.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd just share that with everybody. You talked about several mentors already, and how they motivated you. Be specific. What kinds of things? You talked about debt motivation. What were some other things that these people have done for you that kind of motivated you to get to where you are, inspired you? Just more specifically.
So we'll use Brian Troop as one of the ones. At the time I went to work for him, I'd only been working with Brian for probably 6 months, and I took this listing on this house. My wife and I, we had a small condo, and I called him and said, hey, I got this great listing, and do you have any buyers for it? And I told him about the listing. He's like, oh, I have a great buyer for it. Let's meet for lunch and we'll talk about it. So we were having lunch, and he wrote out how the person was going to buy it, what they were going to do, how they were doing it. And I'm like, okay, who's your buyer? And he goes, you are. And I'm like, I can't do that. I got a condo over here, and I'm new at this. And he's like, I'll co-sign it for you. And I mean, for somebody to put their name on a deal like that and help us buy our first house that we had together was huge. And over the years, like I said, every house I bought, I've talked to him before it. And even my building that I'm in now, the first insurance agency I bought, those were all over lunch conversations with him. He's um, given me some great advice over the years. He's been a great friend, and to this day, if he called me and said, "Hey, I need some help," I'd be there in a minute for him.
That's awesome. So by the way, my wife says that I say awesome a lot. That's excellent. I'm going to change that word. She's probably
That's
watching right now,
awesome.
going, "What are you talking about?" Um, so you went from high school, you went to trade school, became a mechanic, um, decided you were going to go into being a firefighter. That didn't work out. Then you change and switch gears to going into real estate, and then you do real estate for a little while, and somehow you get involved in the insurance world. So
So,
talk about that.
so I was in real estate for about 17 years. I was a top agent for Troop Real Estate. I love doing what I do. And I got to a point where I hit a wall. I just got burned out on what I was doing. And if, one of the things I've always learned, if you're not doing what you love, it's too much work. And so my father-in-law owned he was a partner in a smaller insurance agency, a little one-man shop kind of thing. There's 3 partners in there that worked it, and he was going to retire. And I'd watched how he had lived this life. He was another mentor of mine, and we talked a lot about business, and we had lunch together a lot. And he told me, he goes, "I sold my portion of my agency." And I was like, "Oh, you did? Great." He told me what he had sold it for, and I'm thinking to myself, great, I could have done that and switched gears and changed it up a little bit. And then about 4 weeks later, we were having lunch again, and he's like, "Oh, that deal fell through." And so I didn't tell anybody that we had that conversation. And I went and got my insurance broker's license. And then I came back and I had lunch with him, and I wrote him a check basically and said, "Okay, get your stuff out of my office." And he goes, "What are you talking about?" And I go, "Well, I'm buying you out, and I'm going to be a partner in the company, and I'm gonna make this happen." He goes, "You don't even have your license yet." And I pulled it out of my backpack and a briefcase at the time, and I showed it to him. He's like, "Holy crud, you're serious?" And I was, "Yep." And so I basically just switched gears. To me, sales is sales. If you, I didn't even tell Jill. She said, "Yeah." Um, the way I look at it, if you're in sales and you know how to sell, and Jason, you're a salesperson as well, you can sell anything. I could take Jason and any top salesperson and drop them anywhere in the country with $1 in their pocket, and by the end of the week, they're making money. Whether it's houses, cars, insurance, widgets, it doesn't really matter. Um, but I got to where I always enjoyed the sales aspect of it, but I wasn't enjoying the house side of it anymore. And I thought this would be a good change. So I took what I had learned in real estate and I took it to the insurance world, which was completely different from what most insurance agents do. I door knocked, I cold called, I showed up at people's houses and said, "Let me help you. Let me show you what I can do for you." So I was with that company for about a year and a half, and then we split the company up. And in 2005 or 2007, it was, we started making the transition. In January 1st of 2008, Jill and I opened Insurance Brokers West, a little one-man shop, basically. Us, our assistant, and that was it, in a 400 square foot spot. That lasted about 4 months, and I was bored. I rented a bigger space, started trying to recruit agents, went from 400 square feet to 1,500 square feet. And then I went from 1 office to 2 offices to 3 offices. And now I'm either owner or partner in about 30 offices, getting ready to open 3 new locations in Texas in the next 6 months and continuing to grow. We love what we're doing, and we're having a great time doing it.
So you mentioned when you were in real estate, you kind of hit the wall. You lost the passion. And then just now you once again you said, "I got bored." What is it about you? Because I know a lot of people that are successful, that happens kind of a lot, and that always seems to catapult them into this new direction, into this whole new arena. What is it that bored you, or what is it that made you hit the wall? Was it that you didn't feel challenged, or you just didn't feel fulfilled?
Yeah, I basically, I think it was the challenge and the fulfillment. It's kind of both. I mean, I go back to that time and I look at it, and I was making great money. We had a great lifestyle. We went on vacations. We had fun, but I just, it's when that passion in the morning when you wake up, and you can ask anybody. I'm one of the first people in my office in the morning. I'm one of the last people to leave. I love what I'm doing. I love helping people. When somebody walks in this door or they call me and say, "Hey, I'm having an issue with my insurance or this, what can I do?" I take it as a challenge every time. What can I do to make it better for them? What can I do to save them some money, get them better coverage, whatever it is? What can I do to help them? And even the staff and the agents that we recruit, I'm I'm always trying to help them. There's a group of insurance agents, and when I tell people this, sometimes they laugh at me. Some of my best friends are insurance agents. I go on vacation with them. We have dinner together. We talk shop, and they're like, "Those are your competitors." They're not my competitors. They're my friends, and I'm willing to help them out as much as they're willing to help me out. I've helped some agents local out. Some are still great friends of mine. Some have took the information and didn't really understand the concept of sharing information, and we don't really talk much anymore. But I believe in helping everybody. I think, there's another great sayings out there: the rising tide floats all, raises all ships. It's the same thing. I want to help everybody that I can, whether it's in my industry or another industry. If I can help them, I want to do it.
I want to come back to that because that's a really important part of who you are, which is helping others, serving. But Kevin has a question. He wants to know, when duplicating your business and creating more locations, what's the most important part to setting up the systems so they operate successfully and the same as the original location?
So we try and use the McDonald's formula. You got to have a formula for everything. If you go to McDonald's in California or New Mexico or Texas and I order a Big Mac, it's the same thing. So when we do our offices, we basically set up a formula that if you're going to write business, this is how you're going to do it. It's got to follow these processes. The process, the people, the product brings the performance. And we want to make sure we're hitting those. If we can do that, we can make it successful. It's a
Right.
little different when you get into other states because every state's different on coverages, but we have basically we set what it's going to be, the high standard that we want them to be.
So, Kevin, obviously he owns a martial arts school in Littleton, Colorado, and whether you're a martial arts school or, like you said, the ultimate, everybody uses the example of McDonald's, right? Insurance companies, a restaurant. Um, what would you say is the single most important thing to duplicate as far as a system?
People, having the right people. I mean, if you don't have the right people, and I've had the wrong people in places and I've closed them down. I mean, we had a location in another city that, the person wasn't the right fit and we ended up just shutting it down. I couldn't get somebody that fit what we wanted them to do in that city, and we closed it down. And I don't close down many. And for me to do it, it was brutally painful. I showed up unannounced, walked in, said, "We're done. We're closing the doors by Friday. Pack your stuff and we're out," because it just didn't work.
What would you say is the number one indicator that someone is good for your team?
Dedication. I look at their dedication and performance. I mean, if they have drive and they have the work ethic is huge. I think, unfortunately, over time we've lost a lot of work ethic in people. It's sad. I mean, I come from a very hardworking family, and you know, it's not all there. I mean, we've all been to the restaurant, we've all been to the business where you can see it, the work ethic that's not there, and you can tell which businesses are going to struggle because they can't get the work ethic they need.
Well, and you can tell who is truly passionate about what they do. And when the person at the top is passionate, it kind of transcends through the team, right? And that
Yeah.
team is passionate as long as the vision, is everybody is matching that same vision, is where we all truly become successful. So back to what we were talking about before, because I think this is a really important part of what is so motivating and so inspiring about you, is that you're a member of Rotary. You have served on many boards and organizations here in our hometown. Well, I won't say our hometown, but where we live now,
Yep.
in Moorpark, California. Um, Talk a little bit about your service and why that is so important to you.
That goes back to my grandparents. My dad came over from Austria when he was 5 years old. He's not my biological father. He didn't, but he adopted me when I was 3. I consider him my dad. He's passed on, but the work ethic, and he's always taught me to give back. You give back to the people that help you and the people that can help you. Um, from the early age, I learned that. And so, between Rotary Club and Boys and Girls Club, I was on the Boys and Girls Club board in Simi Valley for a number of years. I've learned to give back. I've worked at all my kids' schools over the years. Uh, I've been, as you talked about, I've been on the Planning Commission. I've been on the Parks Commission. I currently serve on the City Council here in Moorpark, um, because I want to give back to the community that's given so much to my family and I. We love it here, and I've been dedicated to Moorpark since the early days when I first came out to Moorpark. I've always loved High Street. In fact, most of you know, but some of you don't. About a year and a half ago, my wife and I were able to secure a building on High Street. We're in the middle of a complete renovation of it, and because we believe that this is the downtown hub of Moorpark, and we want it to be a place that people talk about and come to and visit. And this is where our corporate office is. So we could live anywhere in the country. We have offices in 5 states, and we could live any of those states very easily, but we choose to live here in Moorpark.
And looking back, when before you got involved, I mean, was it ever the goal to become a city councilman? I mean, was that the goal? Planning commission, then city council, like all these things, or is that just you slowly get your foot in the door of one, and it just kind of leads to the next? Because somehow that's how I see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, when I lived in Simi Valley when I was younger, and Jill and I lived out there for a while in our condo in our first house. I was on what was called neighborhood council. Somebody had asked me to do it, which is kind of their right below planning commission portion. The city split into 4 districts, and I was on neighborhood council, and I was the chair of that, and I enjoyed it. And then fast forward a number of years later, I'm involved in the chamber and stuff, and somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, you should apply." In fact, it was one of our city councilmen at the time. It was Keith Millhouse. He said, "You should apply for Parks Commissioner. It's coming up." And I didn't even know really what it was. Did some research on it. And I'm like, "Oh, that'll be fun." And so I applied for Parks Commissioner, and I got appointed. Which you're a Parks Commissioner now, and I think somebody did the same thing to you, Kev. Hey, I think you should do this, and you
I,
did.
I wonder. I wonder who that is.
um, and then I was on Parks Commissioner, and then a Planning Commissioner did not reapply or had applied and then had to leave, moved out of the area. And I was approached by somebody in the city again, said, "Hey, you should put your name in for planning commissioner." And so it was kind of like that evolution thing. It was I got in the door a little bit, and then I was planning commissioner for a number of years, and then I stopped being planning commissioner, and I decided to run for city council, and I was elected, as we know, in November. And I'm enjoying being part of what's going to shape the future of our great city.
Yeah, we live in a pretty cool spot. I mean, I mean, like you said, you could live anywhere, and you actually choose to live here. Moorpark is definitely a special place. Um, but I want to really focus more on you. We together created. It started as a little event, and it just kind of grew and got bigger. Um, what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts going into it early on? What was your motivation for creating that event?
So we're talking about Holiday on High Street. We were talking. In fact, if anybody remembers, it was right after the borderline incident. The community as a whole, not just ours in Thousand Oaks, and was really sad. I mean, we went through a tragic thing that affected both cities drastically, and we said we needed something to bring the community together. And we did it. And I think it was 4 weeks or 3 weeks. We came up with an idea for Holiday on High Street, basically a Christmas tree and menorah lighting, to bring the community together. We were hoping to have 500 people show up. The city was a little apprehensive to let us do it, and they finally said, "Yeah, we're gonna work with you on this." And we ended up having, I think it was close to 2,000 or 2,500 people show up, and we were, to say blown away is putting it mildly. I was just in awe, seeing the kids smile on their face playing in the snow, the kids sitting on Santa's lap, and everybody in the community that came out to enjoy an amazing event on High Street. It was a complete hard effort and work between you and Jackie and Michael and Trisha Shields from Lucky Fools, and my wife and I. We did this in such a short period of time. And then the next year, I think we were hoping for 2,000 people because it's a second year, and I think we had almost between like 4,000 and 5,000 people show up. And then we continued it. This last year, under the changes with COVID, we basically rolled the dice again, decided to do it. We did it as a drive-through. I think we had like 750 cars drive through. Again, it just shows our community is dedicated. We have some amazing people that are here that help and make things happen. It couldn't be done by one family or one couple. It took 3 great couples to do this, and with the city support, it's going to continue to grow.
Absolutely. So this was not the first event that you've been involved in our community, though. You know, you talk about service and community. You, along with Rotary, helped found our Veterans Day event, correct?
Yeah, Field of Valor. That was an event that I learned from a friend of mine, an insurance agent in another community. They were doing it. I went out and checked it out a few times. I brought it to our club and said we could do this. And it's another event that we put on in Moorpark. We put up, I think, 500 flags uh, each Memorial weekend. It's been a little bit modified last year because of COVID again. We couldn't do the gathering, so we just put flags up in different locations to honor our veterans and our military personnel. It's We did that one. I've been involved with the beer festival, if anybody's been to that one, and then the film festival, which is another great event that this year is coming back. COVID or no COVID, we're finding a way to do it. We didn't do it last year, but we did it the year before, and we're looking forward to more events to come.
Well, I know you will because you always have great ideas and you're so involved. You know, a lot of people. It's interesting too because a lot of people don't know it. It's almost you don't make a big deal about it yourself, so it's like people find out later. Oh, Daniel Groff was involved in this.
Yeah.
Daniel Groff was involved in that, and you know, it just again brings me to why I wanted to have you here to just kind of show you a little bit more love and let people know the things that you have done and I know will continue to do. Let's bring it a little bit more current. um, what are some of the things that you really struggle with, or some things that have been challenging you lately?
Challenging me lately has been my building, getting it done. I need to get this thing done so we can get everybody back to work and inside the building. Um, Struggle it's just growth. I'm always in growth mode. I'm always working to grow what I have and to bring more to the table for people. I'm doing a little bit more mentoring with younger, less experienced insurance agents out in the field. Um, Most people don't know that. I mean, I'm the CFO of American Agents Alliance, which is the National Association of Insurance Agents. We have, you know, members all across the country, and I've been involved with that for a number of years. I've been on their board, and I've been the CFO. I think this is my third year right now, um, and it's been tough. I mean, because without the income from our events that we do, it's hard to do this. But we're always working to make the agencies better, and anything I can do to help. I mean, I get phone calls from agents all over the country. Hey, how are you doing this? How are you doing that? And I'll make the same phone call. If I don't know, I'll call agents that I do know and say, hey, I have a question from this agent. What can we do to help them out?
Definitely. Well, you've talked a little bit. You've brought up your wife several times, who is your partner, and also you have three,
Four.
four
Four.
kids. I'm counting one, two, three, four.
Yeah.
You have four kids. Talk a little bit about your family.
So my wife and I, we met at the Reagan Library. Um, we met 6 weeks later. We were engaged. 6 months after that, we were married. We were kind of on the fast track. It seemed like we have four great children: Zach, 31, Blake, 25, Tanner, 21, and Sydney, who's just turned 13. Uh, our two older ones are married with great wives, and we have Hillary and Cambria. Uh, we we are blessed. I have to say we're blessed. Jill and I have been married now going on 29 years, and for her to put up with some of the stuff I've put her through on the business side is amazing. She's a if there's an angel in the dictionary, it would be a picture of her for what she's done. She's always had my back and supported me 100%.
And your son, Tanner, just came to work for you.
He did. Tanner just graduated from University of New Mexico. Um, he is running in our life department right now, life and health, and he's enjoying it, which is good. And we're happy to have him here. Blake is at Amgen, and Zach, my oldest son, works for a nonprofit. Talk about giving back. He works with developmentally disabled adults, and he left working in the studio industry to do that because that was his passion. And it's that giving back, and I think he might have learned it from me. I don't know, but it warms my heart to know that that's what he cares about, and he's doing what's passionate for him.
Excellent. Dane Evans says, "Are you trying to say Jill is a saint?" I'm just going to answer that for you. If she puts up with
Absolutely.
him, she 100% is. And of course, you got Sydney, who is, you got this. spark plug, we'll just
Yeah,
say. And I know, having a daughter, that like she just has you wrapped,
absolutely. Yeah.
right? What's the most important thing as a parent that you want your kids to take away from you? What do you think is the most important thing that you want to teach them?
Um, the passion and the love that we have for our kids. I mean, we've coached the kids through baseball and soccer and water polo and worked and helped them with all their sports and spent time with them. It's been the quality time. In fact, we just got back from Arizona last night. Sydney had a soccer tournament in Arizona for the weekend, and those family quality time is so important. Spending the time with your family as much as you can. I work a lot. Um, the kids always tease me that my girlfriend was my computer because I would always be on the computer working, and I still do that at home. I get home from work, I'll have dinner, and then while we're sitting around as a family talking, I'm on the computer sometimes doing work that I need to get done for different time zones that I'm dealing with. But being involved and engaged, I I'll stop and do anything for my wife and my kids. If they need to do it, we'll get it done.
So Jill's teasing
And
you a little
cry.
bit.
Oh
I,
yeah.
well, so I asked you about challenges a minute ago, ways that you've challenged yourself. I know two things recently that you've done. And I'm sure there's a lot more that maybe I don't know about. But you started taking Krav Maga after we've known each other 15 years. Your son went through the program, and I think it was over pizza that I challenged you. I still owe you pizza, by the way. But you've got involved in Krav Maga. But the other one was that you started 75 Hard, and I forgot to ask you, what day are you on?
Let's see. Today is 20, 30, 66.
66. So we're not too far from
Nope.
completing this, and these are two things that I know that I kind of uh, dug in a little bit on you. So what made you start Krav Maga at your age?
At my age, thank you very much on that one. It was a joke. Yeah, you had moved into your new studio. I'd stopped by, and then one of the local restaurants dropped off a pizza there, and as a joke, you had posted that they had dropped off pizza, and I'm like, if the class comes with pizza, I'll be there. And you're like, I'll have a pizza. So because I said I did. I threw on some clothes. I went there one night and I enjoyed it. That was the funny part. I really enjoyed it. It's one of my releases from work. I don't get to focus on work when I'm there. I get to punch stuff, which is a good stress reliever. I've met some great people in class. I have a great instructor. You're there, and then Master Figueres is there, and Mazer's there. So I mean, we have some great people that are teaching it, and I enjoy going. In fact, this week I'll probably hit 5 days this week. I'm getting ready for the test. It's one of those things when when I say I'm going to do something, the way I make sure I do it is I make it so everybody knows I said I'm going to do it. We talked about the Spartan race. You were over my house for dinner. We were having a holiday party, and the Spartan race came up, and I'm like, "Oh, what is that?" And you're like, "Oh," you told me kind of about it. I'm like, "I'll do one with you," not knowing that we had picked the May one in Big Bear, and it happened to be 30 degrees and snowing, sleet, rain, and freezing cold, but we did it and we finished it. So if I make it public enough that people know I'm going to do it, there's no way to back out of it.
Right.
And that's one thing I try and do. If I'm going to do something, I say I'm going to do it, I make it public, and then I get it done.
You've been a little more quiet with the 75 Hard. That's why I had to ask you what day you were on. But you took that on as a challenge as well. And there's several people that have gone through this. And if you're watching, 75 Hard was created or inspired by Andy Frisella. Go check out his podcast. Don't be fooled, or don't get thrown off by all the f bombs. But if you listen to what he says, it's really about just taking ownership and creating some good habits. What would be the best takeaway from 75 Hearts so far that you will continue doing as a good habit?
So when I first started doing it, I was like, I got to read. I'm a terrible reader. I read contracts during the day and I'm always looking at stuff. I don't do social reading, is what I call it, or personal reading. I'll listen to a webinar or something like that. I think I'm finishing my third book right now, which to me, I haven't finished 3 books in a year, probably since I was in fifth grade. Um, and I'm enjoying the reading. So last night I read while I'm on my Peloton. I got off and Jill came in. She goes, "I thought you were riding your bike." I'm like, I'm in this chapter. I got to finish it. We're supposed to read 10 pages a day. I think I read 35 pages last night because I was just into the groove of the book. And I've been reading business books. So I'm reading Jack Straight from the Gut, which is about Jack Welch. He was the CEO, chairman of GE in the 80s to the 2000s, all about business. I am enjoying the reading side of it. In fact, now I've ordered 3 more books because I know I'm going to continue that. Drinking the water has probably been the hardest. A gallon of water a day, people think, oh, that's easy to do.
Oh.
Yep, exactly. So, and those are probably the 2 hardest things. The workout's been fun. I'm dropping some weight. I feel better. My clothes fit better. Monitoring what I eat, staying away from the desserts, staying away from the carbonated drinks and soda, which I think I'll probably try and continue to do, at least most of it. Um, I'm learning that it's a better way of life for me,
For
and I'm
sure.
enjoying the reading.
For sure. Well, good for you. Good for you for taking on that challenge, because a lot of people did start it, by the way. I mean, we know a lot of people that have started it, hint, hint, if anybody is watching,
Yeah.
that didn't quite make it. It's a tough one. But again, it's one of those things where you said you would. So you're following through. You got nine days left. Can't wait to see you hit 75 and then continue on from there. It's kind of nice when you're surrounded by other people that are doing it too, and you kind of have that thing to talk about, because that's inspiring. That's motivated to keep going. I started a Facebook group a number of years ago, really just for myself to post about my activity, and then other people started joining in. It's not banter, but it's just you kind of feed off of each other, and it helps to surround yourself with people that are like-minded. And of course, that works the same in your business and in your personal life in general, right? So let's share this real quick. I'm sure this is Joy. Hello, Daniel. Not well, you're not Danielle.
No.
Thank you for volunteering your time and energy in Moorpark for so many years. You make our town a better place to live in. You are a pillar of the community. Much respect, and I 100% agree with that. So thank you guys for sharing that. Let's talk a little bit more about current. Who are some of the people that really motivate you, inspire you? I know your family is a huge part of that. But who are some, you talked about other mentors, past mentors, who are some of your current mentors or other things that you plan on reading?
All right. Well, don't blush here, but I look at you as a mentor. I mean, we talk about it, we're friends, but you basically help push and guide me in a lot of ways. I bounce stuff off with you, and we talk about it, and it helps. It's whether it's physical fitness or it's Krav or it's even some just personal stuff. We've talked in the past, and I truly believe you are a mentor in my eyes, and I'm glad to have you as a friend, and you and your family are great to be around, and we enjoy um, the family relationship that we have. We've been on vacation together. We've done things together. It's always fun, and you have great kids, and I enjoy having your kids around my kids because they are all good together. So continue to read. I'm not sure what books I'm going to read next. I know I have a couple on order. I have a couple sitting right here on my desk. Wade Namora, I don't know if anybody knows him, but he's past district governor for our Rotary Club for 5240, the district that I'm in. He just wrote a book. He was an interview that we had for our Rotary meeting the other day. I didn't realize he'd finished his book, and he talked about service. He's dedicated his life to it. I think he's been to like 50 different countries to work for Rotary on water sanitation and stuff. So I'm going to read his book in the next. He'll probably be the next book I do read, only because he gets into motorcycle racing and bicycle racing, things that I'm passionate about. He's local. He lives up in Carpinteria. In fact, he's currently the mayor of Carpinteria, and he became mayor because the people of the community asked him to do it because he gave so much to the community. So those are the kind of books I like to read. People that help motivate me to the next level.
Nice. Well, I thank you for mentioning me and having such nice things to say. It is great to be surrounded by people that again are like-minded, people that push us. You and I have a lot more in common than I ever thought when we first met almost 15 years ago, which, it really drives when you surround yourself with successful people, positive people. You're just bound to, bounce from that. And we do bounce a lot of things off of each other. So it does make for a really good relationship. I hope that people see the the real meaning behind what we do, because going back to all of the service that you do here in our city and all of the things that you do, a lot of people might think, well, he just does all that stuff to make his business better, or he just got on city council because he wants to promote his business. And I know you're laughing because you've heard this a million times, but the fact that you actually do things to truly help other people, to see other people succeed. And I think that that's what the whole premise of these master motivation videos are all about. All the people that I bring on the show are people that love to bring other people up and not to push everybody down. You talked about the rising tide, brings all ships up, right? Or
Exactly.
paraphrasing, right?
Yep.
A lot of people are afraid. They're afraid of competition. They're afraid of being bested, and rather than looking at it as we make each other better, and
Exactly.
that's our goal. So we need to, what did Jill say? Sorry. We need to up that number of knowing each other to 18 years. Tanner was only 4. Okay. All right. 18. We've been saying 15 forever, but yeah. Okay. 18 years. So before I give you just the last, I kind of call it the motivation minute. I want to give you a minute. So gather your thoughts.
Okay.
But I want to just, again, take some time to thank you for not only being a great friend and a great person to know and to be around. But thank you for all that you do for our community. Thank you for um, everything that you put your heart and soul into. It really, it makes a difference, and not just for you, not just for your family, not just for us, but you've made a really big difference in our community. You definitely motivate me, when it comes to the Spartan racing or the 75 hard, or yes, I may have sparked that idea, but it kind of goes to you back to me, right? It keeps me going. So again, just want to thank you so much for everything you do and for being such a great friend. And Debbie says that she has mad respect for you for quietly serving our city in a very humble way. I totally agree with
Oh,
that, because you don't see Daniel's face plastered all over everything. So let me give you your time now. Motivation minute. Anybody that watching now, will watch later. This will go up on our YouTube channel. What would you say to someone that is struggling or challenging themselves with something new to keep going?
just if you have a passion, follow that passion, whatever it is. I have a good friend. I won't get much into it, but he came to me at one point, was having some issues where he was working. I talked him into going on his own. I have a few people I could name that work for somebody else, and I talked him into opening their own business, and they're very successful at what they do now. Some have bought out their prior bosses that they worked for, which is a great motivation to me. Is believing in yourself. If you believe what you in your within your heart that you can do something, you can always do it. My mom and dad believed in me. My wife believes in me. My kids believe in me. If somebody believes in you and you believe in yourself, there's nothing you can't conquer in this world. You know, get up in the morning, have a passion for the day. God gave you this day, enjoy it, do it to the best you can, and move on to the next thing you want to do. Never look back. Looking back only ruins your day ahead. Always look forward. Move into the next thing, what you can do best. You really, how do you put it nicely? If it's in your heart and it's in your mind, and it's a negative thing, it's going to make you negative. If it's in your heart and it's in your mind, it's a positive thing, it's going to make you positive. So look for those positive things in life and move forward on those.
I love it. I love it. One of the things that you said very early in that statement was, if you believe it, you can achieve it. It's something that we use in the martial arts world a lot, and it's something we use board breaking to go through it, right? That's always fun. So thank you for that motivation minute. Thank you for sharing your stories with us. I hope that everybody has enjoyed listening to Daniel. We could probably go on for another hour, but I try to keep this right under an hour so everybody can watch it later. So let me just talk about a couple things coming up, and then we'll close out. But I want to let you know that next week I have Joelle Mancuso, who is just watching. She said hello, and she founded the Ageless Warriors, and it's a Facebook group that helps people take radical responsibility for their health and wellness. So I can't wait to talk to her about that, because quite honestly, that's something that I've struggled with and something that I know a lot of other people struggle with. So I'm looking forward to having her on next week. And then we've got the Tony Hawk of martial arts, Mr. Mike Chat, the creator of XMA, Extreme Martial Arts, will be on the 22nd. And then the executive director for the Martial Arts Industry Association, Frank Silverman, one of my business mentors and a great friend as well, will be our guest on the 29th. I also have a special guest coming up. Some of you may know this name because I remember him back when I was a kid watching Sidekicks. Ernie Reyes Jr. will be a guest on Wednesday, March 17th. So tune in, guys. I have a guest lined up for every single week from now until the end of the year. And as a matter of fact, I even have some that I'm going to start scheduling out for 2022. So these are all people that I think are truly motivating, inspiring in more ways than one. So Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for sharing your story. You want to say hello to anybody watching real quick?
I'd like to say hello to my wife. I mean, she's my number one supporter and my biggest fan. And Jason, thank you for having me in this seminars that you're doing. When you threw out my name, that I was one of the 52 that you wanted, I was blown away. I honestly I was. I appreciate it more than you could ever imagine. And like you said, the motivation between you and I to help each other has always been there. It looks like, and we just didn't know it.
And that goes to show that make those relationships and foster those relationships, guys, because you never know. I mean, we've known each other 18 years, and this friendship has turned into something really big. And I look forward to continuing to do great things here in Moorpark and sharing more fun times together with our family. So Daniel, thank you so much. I want to wish everybody a great day, an awesome week. Share this video with anyone else that might need a little extra pump of motivation, inspiration, and look forward to seeing you guys all back next week on Monday at noon. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
We're going to play the video outro. All right, guys, have a great week. See ya.